If you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better.
I had the early stages of pain that was very similar to the one I had when I was in TAIWAN about 20 years ago.
Flashback, right?
Oh, man. I ended up in the Taipei University emergency room. And,
oh, really? Okay. How was the medical care? Pretty good?
Well, they took me in and put me in a bed that already had blood on the sheets, so it wasn't my blood. So that was a little disconcerting. I wasn't in the bed about 4 minutes, Don, and the lady right across from me in the emergency room dies. And so they come in and put her in a body bag and carry her out. And I thought, this is not going well at all.
That's a little disconcerting.
Yes, it was. But it got better from there mostly. They hooked me up to an IV, and then a Chinese doctor who spoke perfect English came in, and they started doing this or that. The only other funny thing, at some point, although I was feeling much better by then, they decided I needed an X-ray. And I thought, okay, they're going to wheel me down to X-ray and everything. The nurse stands me out of the bed, takes my IV bottle off of the holder and hands it to me. So I've got my IV bottle in one hand, holding it above my head. I've got my other hand holding the
robe closed.
The robe closed in the back, and she points down the hallway and says, go get X-ray. I don't have papers. I don't have nothing. I walk down the hallway, finally find the X-ray department. I go in there and they say, yes, they can tell I'm foreign. Well, I need an X-ray. Where need X-ray? For kidney stone. Okay, drop pants, get on table. I've got they wham bam slam an X-ray out of me and hand me back my bottle and point me back down the hallway, and I went back to the emergency room and got back in bed.
What an experience, huh? I was going to say, if you made it past the 4-minute mark,
yeah, at
you
least
must
I
have
didn't
felt
go
good.
out in a body bag.
Or they didn't bring one in for you, right?
No, that's right. Yeah, they didn't have a body bag waiting for me or anything, so that was good.
I'm trying to think, other than military, overseas, we were always in military clinics and stuff. So I never went in never was in a foreign hospital. So
that was my experience.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. When that lady in the next bed died, I thought, oh, whoa, baby, this is not going well at all.
What did they do about the billing part?
I have no clue.
Maybe you still got a bill on the books.
No, I don't know. Maybe I do. I don't know. But I was the president of the Senate. I was my first meeting that morning was with the president of TAIWAN.
Oh, wow.
I was in a 4 or 5 star Hyatt hotel downtown Taipei. And so I had the meeting with the TAIWAN president. The next meeting was with the Minister of Education. And it was in the middle of that second meeting that I started having these terrible pains. Had to excuse myself and go to the restroom. Anyway, so they took me back to the Hyatt, and they had a nurse. And so I don't know, maybe Hyatt paid for it. Maybe the TAIWAN government paid for it. But I don't.
Never got the bill, huh?
I never got a bill.
Yeah. When you went in, was there any paperwork to do or anything?
No.
They just took you in, huh?
I assumed that the hotel told, this is a VIP guest from overseas, and we need a bed with some blood on the sheets for him. So
Wow.
Keep him
Okay.
humble.
Yeah, I guess that would do it. So, well, I'm expecting Paul and Zach to join. I did a test run with Zach last Sunday,
Okay.
so we got him hooked up and working, and we talked for a while, and I thought he was going to be on. So we'll just kind of stand by here. And any you got any rants that you want to
Have you already started
expound
recording?
on? Yeah, I'm recording. Yeah,
Okay, you're recording.
yeah. I usually start early because anything in the beginning that somebody wants edited out or I want to edit it out, I just chop it out right away. And
Okay.
so I kind of start early so I
So
don't
you
so
get
I
so
don't
you got
miss it.
my you got my TAIWAN
I do. If you want
kidney
that
stone
public,
story
yeah,
uh,
I do. Which is
recorded
pretty.
for all time and eternity.
Yes. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to go down with your Kleenex boxes.
Do I have a rant? Yeah, I have a rant. Just elected
What
officials lying.
let
Elected
me
officials
yeah,
lying to us. So
let me ask you a question. I
or
saw a
misinformation. Yeah, go
headline.
ahead.
I got an email and I saw a headline, and it's about the Maricopa County Recorder
Okay. Yeah.
saying that he won some big election integrity thing.
That's true. Yeah.
What was
Some for some
what's
reason the
what's
when Justin Heap was a very, very far right legislator who had some very concerning ideas, in my opinion, about how elections should be run, and sponsored some bills that I, to admit everything, couldn't support. And he came over and visited with me in the Senate, and so he has some things that I think when he beat the previous Republican county recorder in Maricopa County, the Board of Supervisors was concerned about how he might run things. So I don't think they should have done this, but they quickly put together an agreement to transfer many of the responsibilities that a county recorder would normally have about elections over to the Board of Supervisors. And the previous guy signed that, even though he was defeated and lame duck and on his way out in a couple of weeks. He signed this agreement that transferred some of the duties that would normally be performed by a county recorder back to the Board of Supervisors. And so when Heap came in as the new recorder, he wanted those back. And the board and him started kind of negotiating, but they never could come to an agreement. There's been a lawsuit going on for 8 or 9 months, and he finally saw it all the way through to a trial at Superior Court judge there in Maricopa County, and the judge ruled in his favor, basically,
okay?
that in Arizona law, by design, about half the duties are assigned to the county recorder, and about half the duties are assigned to what's called the county elections director. Now, in most counties, that's a person appointed by the Board of Supervisors. So there's kind of this intentional division of labor between some things being done by the county recorder and some things being done by the elections director working for the Board of Supervisors. And basically, the judge ruled that in Arizona law, when it says that this assignment for elections should be the county recorder or other election official, might be a deputy county. If the county recorder wants those duties, they should have them. In other parts of the law, if it says, okay, the county elections director shall do ABC, then if there's a county elections director working for the county Board of Supervisors, they should have those duties. And the recorder can't take the election director's jobs, and the election director can't take the recorder's jobs if they each want to have their own duties. And and so they ruled pretty much in favor of Heap, the new county recorder, and that was probably the right decision. I don't think people were expecting that, or many weren't hoping that, but and now the county board of supervisors has even talked publicly about they might appeal it or whatever, but some of the duties are supposed to go back to him. But then he was interviewed 2 days ago and made some factually incorrect statements about how to run elections. And so it kind of, maybe that's why they were concerned about,
Yeah.
I mean, he made a statement on the Mike Broomhead show there in Phoenix a couple days ago that, well, when you mail your ballot back in, we can't start tabulating those ballots until after 7 o'clock on election night. That is totally not true. In fact, it's the early ballots that voters vote and send back in before the election that are the first ballot
first. Yeah.
Yeah. And those are the first results that come out on 8 o'clock on election night. And so for him to make some fundamental misstatements like that is a little disconcerting.
Yeah.
But
what can you say? Yeah.
Well, sounds like he may not also recognize that the recorder handles the mail-in balloting. So they mail the ballots out. The recorder, the recorders in each of the 15 Arizona counties are primarily responsible for voter registration and mail-in balloting, since they have the voter registration records of who to mail ballots to. But once the ballots are back and the signature's been checked, the ballots get transferred over to the elections department. Well, that's under the board of supervisors. And the elections department is the one that owns the machines and programs the machines and sets up the ballots so that, this race is in this place and the machines are programmed correctly to read this race in this area of the ballot, this race in that area of the ballot, and a black mark here is a vote for Don, and a black mark here is a vote for Ken, and on and on and on. That, so there's this intentional division of labor. The recorder's office does some things and the elections department does other things. And for him to tell the public, well, when you mail your ballot back in, it doesn't even get counted until after the polls close on election day, is baloney.
He's kind of feeding into the conspiracy crowd with that stuff.
Well, and the misinformation that caused people to lose confidence in their elections.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, I'll read you this email. It's from easyaz.org.
Okay.
Have you heard of them?
I think I have. Yeah, they're a kind of a MAGA right group.
Yeah, it says they're having some kind of, I don't know why this came on now, and I can't get it off. Oops, got that off. Anyway, they sent out an email, and they're going to have, and I sort of sent it out to the Tea Party folks because Jenny Beth Martin is going to be at one of their events talking about the SAVE Act. Okay. And for the audience's information, today they voted. I think the Senate passed the reconciliation bill to fund Homeland Security.
Good.
And there was an amendment that John Kennedy attached to include the SAVE Act in that bill. McConnell, Collins, Murkowski, and Tillis voted with the Dems, and it got kicked out.
Really? That's disappointing.
Yeah, I know. So the SAVE Act is still pending in the Senate.
Well, unfortunately, there are some things in the SAVE Act that I think didn't need to be put in the SAVE Act.
Yeah, we talked about that before, and I agree with you. Yeah.
That would have made it more palatable and given those 3 or 4 Republicans less reason to oppose it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says in there that every time you request a ballot by mail, you got to send in your driver's license or a copy of your driver's license. Well, that's that's millions of driver's licenses having to be copied and sent in the mail and getting lost. And
yeah,
I mean, once a county is told by the voter, I want to receive my ballot by mail, like we do in Arizona,
right?
You go on a list. Now, there's some things we could do to make sure that people who die or people who move or whatever, maybe you got to call the voters that are on that list every year and say, okay, are you still at this address? You still want your ballot by mail, instead of just mailing everything out every year, whether they've died or not. Of course.
Yeah.
So there are some reasonable measures that could and should be taken to make sure that we're not mailing ballots to people that are no longer alive or at their address and things like that.
Sure.
But when the SAVE Act said, no, every time a voter asks the county to send them a ballot by mail, they got to send in a copy of their driver's license. I think that went a little too far.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's pretty hard to do. Some people can't do that. Some people can't.
Yeah, if you don't have a copier at home and whatever, how are you going to make a copy of your driver's license every time you try to do it?
Yeah. And we run into people every day, Ken, that are not either not using the internet or don't have a clue about how to use the internet. They look at things on the internet.
Yeah.
But functionally they can't attach files, and they can't send things to people and do things that websites want them to. They just aren't able to do it. So
I mean, there's a lot of people, including young people, who don't have printers at their home. They do everything on their phone.
Yeah.
You ask them to print something out, they say, "What? I don't want to print something out."
Yeah. Here's what this email said. It said, tonight, join us. This is 6:00 tonight in Arizona time. It says, join us in celebration of Recorder Justin Heap's big election integrity victory. The event is free to attend, and promo code VICTORY. We'll have banana splits, freshly made pie, and wings. Also hear from Justin Olson on a legislative budget update. Shenanigans are brewing. Plus, Tom Walsh, running for LD3 House, will share his vision for Arizona. So, and then they invited Scott Pressler, who's the kid from Pennsylvania that does a lot of work with get out the vote, and Jenny Beth Martin from the Tea Party Patriots at the Save America Act rally event in Scottsdale or Tucson this weekend. I guess that's a separate thing. Yeah. Saturday, April 25th. So,
well, I don't know if the 4 Republicans that voted against the SAVE Act going into that reconciliation bill.
Yeah, I don't know why they did.
Said why they wouldn't accept that. But my guess is it's stuff like I just mentioned, where
probably
if it was just you got to show proof of citizenship to be a registered voter in America, and you got to show ID at the polls to vote your ballot.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with those two things. In fact, did you see the post that AOC posted today? She posted a thing on Facebook, I think it was, or maybe it was X, saying that Republicans are trying to what was the word? Oh, they're trying to steal the election by requiring that only U.S. citizens vote in the election.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
guilty.
we're guilty because those are the only people that should be voting in our election.
That's right. Yeah. Well, that makes sense to her, right? We're stealing an election that only we are allowed to vote in.
Yeah, we're stealing an election by making sure that only U.S. citizens vote in the election.
Yeah, and people that aren't citizens, if they vote, they're not trying to steal the election.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So anyway, I hope Mr. Heap kind of gets some of his facts straight.
Yeah,
because
it sounds
I'm sure at these public meetings where he's relishing in the victory.
Yeah.
If he's telling people, we can't even count your mail-in ballot until after the election polls close on Tuesday night, that's just totally wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole idea, or the main idea of the mail-in ballots, was to get the ballots back in the hands of the county election folks a little
Yeah.
bit early so they could check signatures and start processing the ballots. Now, there is a law that says they can't release any results
hmm
until after the polls close on election night. But the first
Right.
results that usually come up in Arizona are the early ballots that were returned early by voters, were in the county's possession by or before Friday, and got processed. And those are the first
Yeah.
results that usually come up at 8 o'clock.
Why do you think they don't want the early results released?
Oh, same why we don't. Um,
I'm just
so that
asking because yeah, I'm just asking because Florida does.
so that you don't influence people who say, "Oh, Joe's way ahead. I might as well not even vote."
Yeah, yeah, they do release them in Florida. They do a daily count. They
Really?
show the daily count of early voting. Yeah, up into the election. Yeah.
So
So
who's in the lead?
yeah, and
Yeah,
usually
Arizona.
it's
Yeah,
obvious that the Democrats are early voters from that data. Because they're usually way up in the early voting, et cetera. So
okay.
now that's probably turned around a little bit in the last few years because it's been a point of emphasis by the
Yeah.
Republicans to if you want to
Well,
vote early, go vote.
Republicans in Arizona have always done very well in the early balloting.
Oh, they
In fact,
do.
I
Okay.
think Trump hurt himself in 2020, um, because he told people not to vote early, to
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
go to the polls
yeah,
and vote on election day. Don't vote early. Well,
right.
for 20 years before that, Republicans were winning the early ballots
Mm,
and then would do pretty good on election day too. And we were winning
yeah.
elections for 20 plus years in Arizona
hmm Yeah,
with mail-in ballots. But he told people don't vote early. So if you
yeah.
remember,
Go vote.
um, the
Vote in
other
person,
six
right?
the other six swing states in the 2020 election, um, Trump was leading, and then the later
Yeah.
votes on election day came in, or shenanigans happened, or whatever,
Yeah. Whatever
and
happened.
he
Yeah.
went from leading to losing.
hmm
Arizona was the one of the seven swing states in 2020 that the results show exactly what Trump told his people to do. Don't vote early.
Go to the
Go to
polls.
the
Yeah.
polls and vote on election day.
Right.
That's why when the early vote was counted in 2020, Biden was way ahead of Trump in Arizona. And that's why you
hmm
had the CNNs and the Foxes and everybody say, oh, Biden won Arizona. Well, then when the election day vote came in, Trump started to catch up. Unlike the other six states where he was leading and Biden caught up, in
hmm
Arizona, it was the reverse. Biden was leading because Trump had told his people don't vote early. But he started to catch up as the election day vote came in, and he almost flipped it around.
Yeah.
He only came 10,000 votes short out of
hmm
3.4 million.
Yeah.
So if he would have told his people to vote early or at the polls, either one, but just vote, I think he could have won Arizona.
Yeah, the numbers thing is really interesting because I have to tell you, we're in the middle of a 6 month study in our church of Revelations.
Okay.
And one of the things the pastor brought up this last week, we're in Revelation 6, 1 through 8. And he was talking about the four horsemen
Yeah.
and that a quarter of the earth is going to be in trouble when the four horsemen come.
Okay. Yeah.
So he says, I'll tell you, he says, a quarter of the earth, there are 8 billion people on the planet, right?
Right.
And a few years ago when COVID was a worldwide pandemic, and yet only, I don't, what the number was, it was I don't know if it was 0.2 or 0.02% of the world population actually died. He was comparing the COVID to what's going to happen in Revelation, which,
Oh, okay.
yeah, which is, 2 billion versus 0.02% or
Yeah,
0.0, even 0.2% of
yeah.
existing is not really. So he's trying to say that Revelation's going to be it's going to be big.
The challenges we have ahead of us
Yes.
are
Yeah.
massive compared to the ones we think we had to really work hard to get through.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's exactly right, Ken. So,
Which is why, I get so concerned about the truth, because
yeah. Oh,
in the
yeah.
New Testament it tells us it's the truth that will set you
Hmm.
free.
Yeah.
And
And those
when
words too. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and when our own people tell us stuff either intentionally or mistakenly, stuff
Yeah.
that is not true,
Yeah.
it does us no good.
Hmm.
When
Yeah.
people don't know the truth and they start following man off onto these tangents of untruths,
Hmm.
we're in trouble.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And for example, and if we want to talk Iran for a little bit,
Sure.
Iran, they're master propagandists.
Yeah.
And recently, just this last week, I don't know if you saw something Iran said that we had a United States Senator, Murphy. I don't know what state he's from. Maybe you do.
I don't know.
He tweeted, almost rejoicing over this Iranian propaganda, like it was factual
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was good and it was totally anti-American. Well, it comes out this week, uh, talking about the truth that he had been in Munich in the last few days or few weeks
Okay.
talking to the Iranian government.
Oh my goodness.
And now people are trying to figure out, well, why were you doing, what's
Yeah.
going on there, right? What were you telling them? I mean, I don't worry about what they're telling him because I know it's most of it's, you know, BS, but
Yeah.
you wonder what he said to them. That's what I worry about. Because
Yeah.
these senators get, I think all the senators get some kind of
Briefing.
intelligence briefing, right?
Briefing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Now,
I
even the ones not on the intelligence committee. Now, I don't know
yeah,
if
I
he's
know
on
the
that committee or not.
yeah, I know the intelligence committee members do, but I
Yeah.
don't know if all of them do or not. But
So,
I would assume that intelligence committee senators get
yeah,
something more than the average
right. Yeah.
non-committee senator. But well, I've told you the last 2 or 3 weeks that we've been on that our state senator Mark Finchem's been telling
Mm-hmm.
wild
Yeah.
stories
Yeah.
for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I've been trying to squash it. But he told it again last Saturday at a Republican precinct committeeman meeting here in Yavapai County that
Wow.
Maricopa County um, removed 500,000 fictitious voter registrations from the voter rolls in the last year, and it's just a total false lie.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah, it's
the
unfortunate. That's
the
unfortunate.
voter registrations in Maricopa County over the last year have gone from 2.8 million to 2.9 million.
Mm-hmm.
There were no 500,000, half a million fictitious voter registrations removed from the rolls. Yet he sent it out in an email. He said it on a national talk show. Chanel Rion, I don't even know who was she on Newsmax, or I don't know where she's on, but he told it. He told a bold-faced lie there, and then he told it at the PC meeting this last Saturday.
Oh,
The same lie that 500,000 fictitious voter registrations were removed from Maricopa County. And he went on in those interviews, at least the interview with Chanel Rion, to say, well, this now proves that the elections in 2020 and 22, when he lost, had to have been fraudulent because they had 500,000 fictitious voters on the rolls. Well, they didn't.
So they're embellishing the lie.
Exactly.
Good job, right?
I mean, if we have illegal voters on the rolls, let's identify them and get rid of them. After being in office more than a year, Heap just sent 200 names of voters on the rolls in Maricopa County out of 2.9 million.
200 names.
Oh, he found 200 names that might be illegals, and he sent them over to the county attorney's office to have them check, since they're the investigatory branch of the county. So, okay, maybe there's 200, but there ain't 500,000.
Yeah, that's a little. 500,000 is a little bit more than 200.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, Ken, it's really unfortunate, but some people just can't tell the truth. Some people can't handle the truth, and some people can't tell the truth. So and
apparently Mark Finchem is one of them. But
and it's bad because we have people that won't do the research to find out if things are true or not, right? If somebody says something that, oh yeah, sure, yeah. So I sometimes Patty comes into the bedroom and we're watching something different on TV, and she says, "Well, I just heard this," and I said, "Who is the,
source?
Who's the pontificator?" And she says, "Well, I'm not sure," and I said, "Well, be sure it's a credible source because I can't find." I'll go look, but I haven't seen anything about that. So today the word was that the Prince of Iran had been shot this morning in Germany.
Prince meaning this son of the
the son of the Shah. Yeah, the son of the Shah. No, the son of the Shah. The Shah's son now, who's running around as the Prince of Persia, Prince of Iran. So he wasn't shot. Somebody threw some orange paint on his shoulder. Somebody ran up to him and threw some orange paint on him, and then the guards tackled the guy and they got him off. So, but this morning the story was he'd been shot. So which everybody just blew up some of YouTube and some of the shows right before everybody. Right. Then you watch the video and you see what happened. So I'm getting Paul Fitch is saying he wants to come in now. So I'm going to let him in because he's knocking on our door. And let's see here. Over here.
There he is.
Hello, Paul.
Hi, guys. How's everything?
How are you doing?
There? I'm doing okay. Yeah. I'm a little bit rushed.
That's okay. We've been jabbering for a while, so.
Yeah, we've been jabbering.
Did you learn anything?
We are. We're discerning the difference between the truth and lies, and who is truthful and who is lying to us, and but we'll call them untruthful.
Untruthful.
We won't call them liars.
You're so politically correct.
I know. Yeah. So you're back from your adventure?
Yeah, man. I went to my class of 1964 80th birthday party. We're all turning 80 this year, so we had a big blowout. And
what a shock!
75.
That must have been shocking.
Well, they don't look a whole lot older than they did 3 years ago, so it's okay.
Yeah, but wow, I can't imagine.
Where did you go to high school, Paul?
Lafayette High School in Lafayette, Louisiana.
Lafayette. Okay,
I've
got some family from Lafayette.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Is that how you got into all business?
The Salzmans. My my grandmother on my dad's side, her maiden name was Salzman, and they were from Lafayette, Louisiana.
Wow, how about
fine
that?
folk.
Small world, right?
Yeah.
Small world. So I have never been to a high school reunion.
Oh my.
I never have. Our high school, the ones that I would have probably gone to, I was so busy in life I wouldn't have gone anyway.
Where did you
And
go
then
to
as
high
we
school?
get Wasson High School in Colorado Springs, there were only two high schools. There was Palmer High School, which was a downtown high school, and Wasson, which was a suburbs high school. And of course, we were bitter rivals, right? But
Yeah.
since I left high school, my high school is no longer a high school. It's closed. It's a government building now.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's harder to have a reunion, when your high school's
Closed, yeah.
closed and gone and all that's behind you, right? And this was a brand new high school in 1962, and I graduated high school in 64, so I started, I guess in 61 it was brand new. So I started high school the year after the school was open. I mean, this was a brand new, beautiful brick 3-wing palace, right? In those days, had our own football stadium, baseball field, and a lot of high schools didn't have anything like that. Matter of fact, most of the high schools in Colorado Springs used our football stadium for their home games because it was it was a nice field. And that's what they built. It was a kind of a multi-purpose thing. But they closed up, and I just,
Yeah.
you just sort of lose touch with all that. Now, I do belong to that. I don't know what that thing is you can join where you get in they always want to send you a high school yearbook and
Classmates.
Yeah.
Classmates,
I am on Classmates and have contacted some really friends that were really good friends back then, but not a lot of people. And I don't use it that much. I'm just curious.
Well, I've been to every high school reunion we've had.
In Prescott.
Because
yeah. Prescott. I'm sorry. I apologize, Ken. I keep saying Prescott, and I know it's pronounced. You talked about it on your radio show one morning. I listened. It's Prescott, right?
If you say Prescott, we know you're not from Prescott.
I'm not a grad, right? For sure. So
well,
what
Prescott
was your
Prescott High School? It was the second oldest high school in Arizona.
Oh wow!
Can you guess? Can you guess which high school was older than Prescott High School in Arizona?
Which high school is older than Prescott?
Yuma.
No, that's a good guess though, Paul, because that's where the old state penitentiary was.
Prison was, yeah, Yuma Prison.
It was in Globe. Globe High School.
Really? Wow.
Is the oldest high school in Arizona. Prescott is second. And then they go from there. I bet Yuma is one of the older ones, Paul. So that was a good guess.
Yeah. What was your mascot, Ken?
The Badgers. Prescott Badgers.
Oh, Badgers. Badgers is a good mascot. It's like Wisconsin, which I'm not a big fan of.
Wisconsin. Those are the only two I know of. Wisconsin at the collegiate level and Prescott High School at the high school level. I don't know of any other Badgers. But
we were the Thunderbirds, which is kind of unique. But our fight song was the Notre Dame fight song.
Oh my!
Hail, hail to victory! Right. So I guess they couldn't get creative with the song. They got real creative with our mascot, but we didn't have there's no such thing as a Thunderbird. So
what were you, Paul? The Lafayette what's?
Mighty Lions.
Mighty
Lions. There's a lot of lions around the country.
Actually, when I was on the team back in 1960 to 64, the coach went to the Detroit Lions and got permission to use their Lions sticker on our helmets. But ours were green instead of blue. So they're pretty sexy looking.
Yeah.
Mighty Lions from Lafayette High, huh?
Yeah.
We had really sad uniforms for a top class high school. We were not only sad looking, but I just thought our uniforms were, we had what did I say? They weren't cardinal red. They were kind of a darker red jersey with gray pants.
Ooh.
Sounds like the Confederacy.
Yeah, and red had red helmets with we didn't have any logos or anything. We didn't have a W on our helmets. So, I don't know. A lot of high schools in Denver they had all this stuff, right? All the equipment. They had tearaway jerseys. They had low cut shoes. They had, they were in it. So we hated playing those guys because we used to look so terrible and they used to beat us so bad. So, but my high school got pretty good in football after I left. They won a state championship and they won a state basketball championship. So in the highest classification. But now I think we were 3A back then, which was the top. Now there's 6As, right? 6A is the big class. So playing with the big boys.
Prescott's only state championship at the highest level was golf. We had some good golfers.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
In the 70s who got us a state championship. I don't think we had many state championships other than that.
Yeah. We had, and that whole neighborhood around that high school, my high school that closed up, it just looks awful. And it was so beautiful back then. Brick houses, ranch style houses, and it was just really a nice area. It was the area of Colorado Springs. But you go back 50 years later now, that can go away pretty quickly, right? So yeah. Had a nice gym and although we did play our home basketball games, we played in the other high school's gym because they had more capacity than ours. So anyway, back to the old days. Well, I'm glad you had a reunion. How many people were there, Paul? And how many people were in your class at the time?
There were about 75 there, and about 50 of them were actual grads. The rest were spouses and girlfriends and stuff.
So 50 out of
about 350, I think, was the size of our class.
Wow, that's 25% is pretty good. 20%.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah,
it's all my class food.
Yeah, my class was 800.
Wow.
Yeah, we had this huge class. My senior year, I only had to go to classes from 8 till noon because of the capacity of the school. So the seniors, we didn't have to take any study hall our senior year. So we got out at noon and went in to do all the sports stuff we were doing and everything. So it worked out pretty good. But yeah, 800 in my graduating class.
There were 430 in my 77 Prescott High School.
That's pretty
1977.
Big. Yeah. And we had a guy that he was either second or first in the class, grade point average. And he wanted to go to Rice University.
Okay.
And they did not accept him. So we all looked at each other and said, "What?" I mean, he was the top guy, he was either the top guy or next to the top in the class. He wasn't the valedictorian, I don't think, but yeah, he couldn't get into Rice. Rice has always been a very hard school to get into. Math and science it's wicked. So yeah.
I had no trouble at Yavapai College.
There you go.
I had the unfortunate experience of growing up next to a guy who made 1B in high school, and that was in physical education. The 6 weeks he had a brain concussion.
Oh
and
wow!
The rest of all his grades were A's.
So that kept him from having straight A's, huh?
Yeah, it kept him from being the valedictorian.
Yeah.
But I've always said that Bo and I had very similar grades because I had 1B in high school also.
There you go. Well, the name Bo is pretty good for a guy from Louisiana, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, his folks were from California. He was James Robert.
He wasn't a football player, was he?
Yeah, he was football player, president of the class,
Wow.
salutatorian.
Oh, he was everything. Wow.
Went on to Oxford, then went to Vanderbilt and got his MD. And it took him 30 years to get out of college, but
was he at the reunion?
No, he wasn't in my class. He was in the class ahead of me.
Oh, okay. So, how many of your football players, high school kids, went to LSU and played football? Anybody?
A couple. I don't remember
that's
who.
Pretty good.
Yeah, but a couple of them did. And went on and played football, at other places. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but see, I
Yeah.
left.
We
I
had,
left Lafayette shortly after I got out of high school. I went to 2 years of college and went in the military. And from the
yeah.
military, I just moved on. So didn't
Yeah.
keep up with a lot of those people.
Who's the
We
most
had,
famous? Who's the most famous person in the country that came from Lafayette, Louisiana?
was it
Oh
Andrew
gosh,
Jackson? Was
I
it
don't know if
Andrew
there's any.
how about Andrew Jackson?
Was
No?
he? No, I don't think he was from Lafayette. He might have been from somewhere in there, but I don't know if anybody can. I'll look it up though, because the next week
Okay.
I'll have a famous name for you.
Okay. From Prescott, it was Fiorello LaGuardia.
No
Fiorello
kidding.
LaGuardia grew up in Prescott, became the mayor of New York, and
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
and an
We had
airport
an
named
act
after him.
we had an actress. Well, before Peggy Fleming. Peggy Fleming was from Colorado Springs, ice skater. But
Yeah,
before
Yeah.
that, there was an actress in the 50s and 60s named Spring Byington.
I remember that name.
And
I
she
don't.
was on a couple of the sitcoms. I don't remember the one she was on, but she was probably the most famous person from Colorado Springs, I think. I don't think we had anybody real politically went there. We had Teddy Roosevelt came to Colorado Springs and spoke from the front of the old Antlers Hotel one time. I have a picture of that on my computer, right? It's up on the balcony where they had the old balconies and the banners hung from there and had a big crowd. So I bet he was something to listen to back in those days. I bet
Yeah.
that would have been a treat. So okay, Paul, do you have a rant of any kind?
Yeah, I do. As a matter of fact,
Okay, well, we'd like to hear it.
all right. I'm going to read this to you because I wrote this. I belong to a forum kind of thing called a vow, another voice of warning. Are you familiar with that, Ken?
No, I'm
I've
not. That sounds good.
It's an LDS
A vow,
preparation.
AVOW, a
Yeah,
vow.
another voice of warning.
Okay.
And I've been with these people for a few years now because they always have some really good advice about preparing, because the
Yeah.
LDS people, that's one of their
So
mandates, I
one of
think,
our
is
that's one of our big things is being ready for the second coming. And earlier, before you joined us, we were talking about the last days and Revelations and how tough things are going to get. And 0.2% of the population was killed during COVID, but if you interpret Revelations a certain way, we may lose one. What was it, Don? 1/5
2
of the
billion,
population.
1/4, yeah, 1/4 of
Yep.
8 billion. So yeah,
Okay, so tell us, Paul. Sounds good.
Okay. So this is what a vow does is they send out these articles and then people comment on them. And this particular article, I'm gonna disappear me for a second. And the article here is about the fact that we are going to run out of fertilizer pretty quickly. And says here, U.S. farms are facing two historic catastrophes at the same time in 2026. And the first one is drought, and the second one is fertilizer. Most of the farmers have said they're not really going to be able to get enough fertilizer, and the ones that seem to be able to get fertilizer aren't getting any rain. So we're looking at really diminished food supplies, and a price rise on fertilizer of 87% year to date. That's pushing $720 a ton, but it looks like about 2000 November it was $40 a ton. So it's really getting ugly there. So
Hmm.
I was reading all that, and then I wrote this because so many people have been butchering the president for getting into this war of choice, they call it. And so I wrote this, which is kind of interesting, I think, but I'll read it to you. I have to use a bad word twice, but anyway. Many, especially those with extreme TDS, are blaming the president for starting this war of choice, as though letting Iran's irrational theocracy have an atomic bomb is a choice. The president has done all that, to my mind, he can do to break the stranglehold of the regime on the people of Iran and the world through the direction and support of terrorism. The president had a choice, the same choice his predecessors had, to stop the insanity that is Islam IRGC, or let them continue with their uranium enrichment program until they could produce an atomic bomb to threaten the world. I personally would rather pay $5 a gallon for gasoline than try to find what's left of my wife after Iran launched a ballistic missile tipped with an atomic warhead into my part of the world or smuggled one into a nearby port to destroy a U.S. city. That said, it would appear from this article that we, the American people, are now going to pay a higher price for food due to the closing of the strait. So what we have traded is safety from nuclear attack to being killed by starvation. That is the wrong end game. What we should trade is safety from nuclear attack for an open strait. If that requires destroying to the last Iranian every semblance of resistance to reopening the strait, then let the fun begin. I hate to be cold-hearted, but Iran started this war 49 years ago, and it's taken until today to elect a president who has the testicular fortitude to end it. Until the regime and its followers are eliminated, they will, like cancer, continue to destroy civilization. I've quoted from General Patton's admonition, "You don't win wars by dying for your country. You win wars by making some poor dumb son of a bitch on the other side die for his." I personally don't want to be that poor dumb son of a bitch that dies for Islam. That was my rant.
Good. I'll give you an A.
That was much better than mine. I was just complaining about a stupid state senator who keeps lying to us.
Yeah.
I have yeah. Oh yeah. Here's something that I found that somebody wrote on that same subject. He said, we had a choice between a nuclear armed Iran or a temporary spike in gas prices. And since some of you can't decide if you're a man or a woman, Trump made the decision for you. On the lighter side of it. Yeah. So, no, that was really good, Paul. That's your kind of your rant was the TDS crowd.
No, most of them are very strong conservatives. I don't know if that's a universal at the LDS religion.
Yeah.
Religion.
Well, they're being
most LDS are pretty conservative.
Yeah. So
there's people getting sucked in by Tucker Carlson and
Megan
and
Candace.
Yeah, Candace. And then recently, Marjorie Taylor Greene this week, she came out with saying that the Trump assassination in Butler was all staged.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on with these people. I really don't. I don't.
It sure seems like they're changing their tune. I think a microscopic examination of their bank accounts might be in order.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Follow the money.
And,
follow the money.
There's a big investigation now into John Roberts' wife's bank account. Have you heard about that?
Yes. I forgot that she forgot to mention $13 million.
$13 million she got paid for. We don't know what for.
Well, we do know what for. We just don't know how far it went into the process. Those were commissions she got for finding jobs for lawyers who have since been before the Supreme Court, her husband, to argue their cases. And we have to go back and do some research on how many cases of those lawyers were judged, were won.
Yeah, sure. Did you guys see the thing I sent out with the it was about the Supreme Court and the argument against birthright citizenship?
I didn't get to read that.
Read that if you get a chance, and we'll talk about it next time because it's pretty enlightening. He says it's really not. He said he got sick of. He went to the Supreme Court when they argued the case, and he says he really got sick of all the legalese and how complicated they make it sound when it's not really complicated at all. So what's his name?
One of the
Joe. What's the guy's name? Joe, the announcer on starts with a P. He's an older guy that's been a long time.
Morning Joe?
No, it's Joe. No, he's a conservative. Joe. I can't think of his name now. Anyway, go ahead, Paul. What were you going to say?
Well, what I was going to say is that we got the. I forgot what I was going to say. We got to thinking about Joe.
Yeah. Joe Poggs or Joe Poggs? Poggs, is that his name?
Oh, Paggs? Joe Paggs?
Paggs? Yeah. Yeah, he wrote this long thing about birthright citizenship. So go and read it because I thought it was really It was really good.
I remember what I was going to say. I've been
Good.
teaching this biblical citizenship course, and
Okay.
Tim Walton, Dave Walton, they say that if you have an issue with the Constitution, go back to the notes that were taken during the Constitutional Convention and what arguments were given and taken and which ones were accepted and which ones were not. There are also those same notes available on the 14th Amendment.
Yeah.
And if you
Oh,
go
yeah,
into
sure.
the notes of the 14th Amendment, from what I understand, it's pretty clear that the birthright citizenship was only for the children of freed slaves so that they
Sure.
could have the vote.
Yeah.
And it had nothing to do with anybody coming into the country and dropping a kid.
Right. Well, there weren't a lot of airplanes around then either.
No.
So, right. So it was kind of hard to get here unless you sailed on a boat or whatever.
If the words subject to the or under the jurisdiction,
right?
If under the jurisdiction was meant to be just simply you were present in the U.S. when you're born, then why would they have added that to be born in the U.S. and under its jurisdiction?
Right.
The founding fathers were not keen on saying things twice unless the second thing really meant something different than the first thing. So under the jurisdiction would not have been added if all they wanted to do was say, if you're born in the U.S., you are a citizen.
Yeah.
So they knew that somebody visiting from England or anywhere and happened to give birth to a child, that's not a citizen of the U.S.
Right.
So under its jurisdiction could not have meant just being born here, or they wouldn't have added it. They would have said, all you got to do to be a citizen is just be born here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and under its jurisdiction, to me, it means that the parents that they come here are under the jurisdiction of a foreign government, right? They're subject to punishment under their government. Now, if they murdered someone while they were here, obviously, legally we could punish them or at least kick them out of the country. But yeah, I don't know why they would make it so complicated, and I think that's what frustrates Zack so much, because he was always taught in Border Patrol class that the 14th Amendment only applied to slaves, and that all of the things that have happened over the years are strictly policy choices. They're not constitutional things. So anyway,
you'll find a lot of the pro birthright citizenship people will just say, well, we don't want to overthrow 100 years of precedents.
Well, I know that'll be the Roberts argument, right?
Yeah.
I can see that coming out of him. I hope it doesn't, but
it depends on how much of that 13 million his wife earned that he gets to keep.
But you would think you would really think the point that you made about the notes. Why wouldn't a Supreme Court justice go back and read those notes, right? And understand what they were talking about, right? I mean, that seems to me to be the obvious.
Well, that would be obvious, wouldn't it?
That'd be the first place I'd go to read the big book of when the convention was going on and what the things that were written. And so I don't know. I'm confused. Well, we're coming up on the end of the time here, guys. So
I have an announcement to make here.
Go ahead, Paul.
Okay. For reasons that I don't fully understand, my passport was going to expire in June, so I applied for a new one. And I say I don't understand because I don't know of any place that I'm going to go where I need a passport. But I want you to know the optimism of the United States government is such that they made it expire in 36, where I'll be 90 years old.
All right. Well, that's good.
I'm going to keep this. I'm going to keep this and make sure I reach the end of it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
There you go.
I've got mine in my hand. When does it expire? 32.
Hey, good.
32.
Well,
I just renewed. Yeah, I just renewed ours, patting mine over the internet. So, which was pretty efficient. Yeah, you get to send them. You send them the pictures now if you take the right picture. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And one of the
I don't
things
know
that
what
I
the
do
year is. Yeah.
is I carry the passport card because
Yeah.
I don't travel internationally, but that card will get me in and out of Mexico if I ever chose to go there again.
There you go. Yeah, that's
And
a
it's
good
also
idea.
good for flying domestically.
Yeah.
And you don't have to carry your passport around with you.
Yeah.
So,
And they
it's
say
only a-
that they say that the new law is the TSA will if your passport's going to expire in 6 months, they won't let you fly to a foreign country
right.
if you're a senior. So
Yeah.
yeah. So that's
So
good.
what's this card you're talking about? Because I ought to get one of those for Gene and I.
Let me
Yeah,
show you.
it's a card that it says you have a passport, Ken, and it's like a passport, but it's like it looks like a ID card kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
let me
show
show
him,
you.
Paul.
Can
I'll
I
get
get
out
one
of
of
here.
those pretty easily?
Yeah,
You
you
should
just apply
be
for
able
it,
to
just
order
like you
one.
do your passport.
Yeah.
Here's the. Let's see if you can see this.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. It's got all the same information that your passport has, which is just a card instead of. That's not good for coming back into the country from any place but Mexico. That's what I
Yeah.
understand in Canada.
Okay.
For no, it has to be a ground border crossing. If you're
Yeah.
flying, you do need to have your regular passport.
Regular
But you
passport.
can get across. You can
You
drive into Mexico for lunch.
You
with
can
this.
apply over the internet.
Does
for it.
that card get you through airports going domestic to domestic?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a federal ID card. That's what your
Mhm.
driver's license becomes if you get the little star on it. Or at least that's in
Okay.
Arizona.
Because
Yeah.
Gene and I have not got the gold star added to our driver's license, but we both have passports, and it'd be nicer to have a card that size to
Yeah.
carry
Yeah.
instead of carrying the full passport for domestic travel.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure, Ken, you can go on the internet and order the cards for
Yeah.
a small
Okay.
charge. It doesn't cost as much as the regular
It was
passport.
100. It was 130 for the passport book and 30 for the card. So
Yeah.
Okay.
I just got them both.
And they've got all your info already. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, it's good to see you both.
Sorry I'm late.
Are you heading back to Utah, Ken, by the way? Or are you
Actually, well, eventually, I mean, in a couple
Well, I
of
mean,
weeks.
is Jean back? Is she came back already?
No, Jean's up there right now and has been
Okay.
for about 3 weeks, and she's coming back in the middle of next week, though. So that's why I've got the passports out, because she wasn't expecting to fly back, and she doesn't have her passport with her. She doesn't have the gold star on her driver's license, so I'm actually having to
I see.
overnight her passport to her here in a couple hours.
There you go. Yeah. Well, that's good. Okay. Well, we hope she has a safe trip. So.
Thank you.
And you take care. And Paul, it's good to see you. Glad your trip was successful. And we will see you all next week on 4 Men in America. Thanks for joining. And God bless America.
Yes.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Decades. Vague missions, shifting sands, little to show for it. Operation Epic Fury has been laser focused from the very start, as I've said to all of you. Clear mission objectives, and ultimately Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. It's a bold and dangerous mission, a gift to the world, historic, courtesy of a bold and historic president. That mission continues today, in this new phase, as Iran has an important choice, a chance to make a deal, a good deal, a wise deal. As part of that effort, the United States has imposed an ironclad blockade that grows more powerful by the day. From the Gulf of Oman to the open oceans, our Navy is enforcing this blockade without hesitation or apology. Now, as usual, there's a lot of false information out there. I'll say this, every ship that the U.S. believes meets our criteria, either Iranian ships or to and from Iranian ports, has been turned around. As of this morning, 34 total. Non-Iranian vessels are allowed to transit, and many have, including overnight. Not only is the blockade growing, in fact, a second aircraft carrier will join the blockade in just a few days, but this growing blockade is also gone global. Just this week, we seized 2 Iranian dark fleet ships in the Indo-Pacific region that had left Iranian ports before the blockade went into effect. They thought they'd made it out just in time. They did not. We seized their sanctioned ships, and we will seize more. Our blockade is growing and going global. America's military is unmatched, projecting power, denying passage to adversaries, and protecting our interest at the time and place of our choosing. No one sails from the Strait of Hormuz to anywhere in the world without the permission of the United States Navy. To the regime in Tehran, the blockade is tightening by the hour. We are in control, nothing in, nothing out. Iran's battered military, the IRGC specifically, has been reduced to a gang of pirates with a flag. They cloak their aggression in slogans, but the world now sees them for what they are, criminals on the high seas. They don't control anything. They're acting like pirates, acting like terrorists. They're the ones who lay indiscriminate mines, who shoot at random ships, who killed 45,000 of their own people, innocent protesters in the course of weeks. Their own people. They are the bad actors. The vessels that the Iranians seized in recent days, a couple of them, they're not American ships. They're not Israeli ships. They're just random ships that drove where they drove their little speedboats up to and shot at those ships with AK-47s. Anyone with a speedboat, a gun, and the wrong intentions can do that. They know that we, the United States of America, control the flow of global shipping, and we know that they know. Their real navy is at the bottom of the Arabian Gulf. It's worth saying again, for 47 years, Iran has been at war with America, killing our citizens, our soldiers, and our allies, while previous administrations looked the other way. The real endless war is the war that Iran has waged on us for 47 years. President Trump is the only president with the guts and moral clarity to finally do something about it. I see it every day behind closed doors. President Trump's fortitude is unshakable, and his mission is crystal clear. President Trump said it again yesterday. We have all the time in the world. And I hear him say it every day in private as well. Iran knows that they still have an open window to choose wisely. As we said previously, choose wisely at the negotiating table. All they have to do is abandon a nuclear weapon in meaningful and verifiable ways, or instead they can watch their regime's fragile economic state collapse under the unrelenting pressure of American power. A blockade as long as it takes, whatever President Trump decides. Because the bottom line remains the bottom line. Iran will never get a nuclear bomb. The choice is theirs, but with this blockade, the clock is not on their side. Moreover, President Trump has authorized the United States Navy to destroy any Iranian fast boats that attempt to put mines in the water or disrupt passage through the Strait of Hormuz, to shoot and kill. Our commanders have clear rules of engagement. If Iran is putting mines in the water or otherwise threatening American commercial shipping or American forces, we will shoot to destroy. No hesitation, just like the drug boats in the Caribbean. It's also worth saying, this should not be America's fight alone. We barely use the Strait of Hormuz as a country. Our energy doesn't flow through there, and we have plenty of energy. Just look at the new global Congo line, headed to Texas. A beautiful picture. Europe and Asia have benefited from our protection for decades, but the time for free riding is over. America and the free world deserve allies who are capable, who are loyal, and who understand that being an ally is not a one-way street. It's a two-way street. We are not counting on Europe, but they need the Strait of Hormuz much more than we do, and might want to start doing less talking and having less fancy conferences in Europe and getting a boat. is much more their fight than ours. On this core mission, America's will is unshakable, our capabilities unmatched. Our blockade is only growing and going global. And as the president said, we have all the time in the world. Iran has a historic chance to make a serious deal, and the ball is in their court. Either way, the War Department stands ready for what comes next, locked and loaded. May God continue to bless our warriors each and every day and on each and every mission. Mr. Chairman, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. Today marks 55 days since the President of the United States ordered major combat operations against Iran. Today and this morning, the Joint Force remains postured and prepared to recommence major combat operations on the order of the President. On April 8th, the President announced a ceasefire, and last week, at the President's direction and on order of the Secretary, U.S. CENTCOM began enforcing a blockade against all commercial vessels going into and out of Iran and their ports. Simultaneously, the U.S. military, in support of the U.S. Department of Justice, was ordered to conduct maritime interdiction operations against sanctioned and dark fleet vessels globally. This operation also began on April 8th, and what I'd like to do this morning is update all of you on those actions and activities. First, as I mentioned, U.S. Central Command continues to maintain a strict blockade on all the ports. We're enforcing the blockade across the board against any ship of any nationality that is transiting to or from an Iranian port or territory. We're closely tracking vessels of interest headed towards Iran and those moving away from Iran that were outside the blockade area when this blockade was ordered. And as everyone saw this past weekend, we're prepared and postured to intercept them. As of this morning, 34 ships have met the U.S. blockade and made the wise choice to turn around. One ship did not, and that ship was the motor vessel Tuska. Over several hours this past Sunday, April 19th, the U.S. conducted maritime interdiction operations against the Tuska, whose crew attempted to breach the blockade line. The Tuska is a large container ship, about 965 feet long, or about the same size as a United States Navy aircraft carrier, and over 100 feet wide. The operation began about 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time when the United States Navy destroyer approached her, and the crew and the vessel ignored warnings. And I've described how the destroyer force is operating in the area prior. Upon intercept and coming within visual range, American forces began to issue several clear and unambiguous warnings and inform the vessel and their crew that they were in a violation of the U.S. blockade and directed the ship to turn around. Over a 6-hour period, the vessel and her crew repeatedly ignored U.S. warnings. And then the U.S. Navy period, the vessel and her crew repeatedly ignored U.S. warnings. And then the U.S. Navy destroyer executed a series of pre-planned, carefully calibrated escalation options, including firing 5 warning shots. The vessel and her crew continued to ignore warnings. And after exhausting all other measures, CENTCOM authorized disabling fire against the Tuska. U.S. sailors warned the crew of the Tuska to abandon the engine room, and at approximately 9 a.m. Eastern Time, the destroyer disabled the Tuska's engine by firing 9 inert rounds from the destroyer's Mark 45 5-inch guns precisely into the engine room and engine space on board the Tuska. Not surprisingly, the vessel then reported issues with their engine, went dead in the water, and began to comply with U.S. direction and orders. At 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, CENTCOM ordered United States Marines to seize the ship. Via helicopters, U.S. Marines maneuvered quickly to the disabled ship, boarded her from fast ropes via helicopter infiltration methods, and took custody of the ship. The ship and her crew remain safe in U.S. custody today. Let me now turn to global operations in the Pacific, and I want to highlight that this is a major interagency effort between the United States military, the White House, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Department of Justice. On Monday, April 20th, U.S. Indo-PACOM forces, in support of a Department of Justice request, interdicted the motor tanker Tiffany, which was transporting sanctioned Iranian oil. The Tiffany is a very large crude tanker, VLCC for short, and is also about the size of a U.S. aircraft carrier and capable of transporting approximately 2 million barrels of oil. At approximately 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S. military forces and law enforcement forces also went to the ship via rotary wing platforms, fast-roped onto her deck, and secured her. After the ship was secured, a U.S. Navy control team embarked aboard the Tiffany, and assumed control of the ship at 4 a.m. Eastern Time on April 21st. A Navy control team is comprised of sailors led by a boarding officer that assumes control of a seized ship in order to secure the crew, the cargo, and the vessel. And disposition of that first vessel is still pending. The next interdiction occurred on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, 22 April, when Indo-PACOM conducted yet another interdiction, again at the request of the U.S. Department of Justice. This time, the stateless motor tanker Majestic X, also known as the Ponix, also in the Indian Ocean. This is again a VLCC, or very large crude tanker. At approximately 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, U.S. forces began the interdiction, again using rotary wing assets to get to the ship, got on board, and secured the bridge. Both ships, the Tiffany, the Majestic X, and their crews remain in U.S. custody. Tiffany, the Majestic X, and their crews remain in U.S. custody. And we will continue to conduct similar maritime interdiction actions and activities in the Pacific and Indian Oceans against Iranian ships and vessels of the Dark Fleet. The actions by our service members and our law enforcement partners demonstrate the incredible discipline and dedication and professionalism of our joint force and highlight the global reach of American combat power. The joint force remains on ensuring the Iranian regime cannot harm our interests or those of our allies and partners. And I'll highlight that Iran has repeatedly sought to offensively and proactively expand the conflict by aggression against its neighbors and its attacks on global shipping through the Strait. To date, Iran has attacked 5 merchant vessels, seized 2 of them that were attempting to transit the Strait, and these include ships that Iran itself had cleared to proceed. Now, as I always do, I want to honor members of the Joint Force. Today, I want to highlight and proudly describe the essential role of our intelligence enterprise and the role that they play in conducting our military operations. The totality of their work is the culmination of days, months, and in many cases, years of work by our uniformed and civilian intelligence professionals. We have been able to do the work that we are ordered to do because America's intelligence force, including our core collectors and analysts, have spent decades searching for every loose thread. from the determination of a particular intelligence requirement to that piece of intelligence being collected in the field by a military or interagency case officer, to the rigorous analysis that goes into reporting on that finding. Those team members spend their careers answering the incredibly important questions that we must attempt to answer before, during, and after operations. They live in the enemy's mind. Normally located behind the green door or behind the vault door in dark, windowless rooms across the world, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, are world-class intel members from DIA, our service intelligence components, NSA, NGA, CIA, NRO, and in the case of the operations that I've just described, the Office of Naval Intelligence, all work tirelessly to sift through the mountains of collected information using tools, tactics, techniques, and procedures that I'm not going to discuss today. The sun never sets on these world-class professionals, and their goal is every minute of every day to be on the account. And they know the enemy. They know their combat capability, their weapons, their industrial and economic systems, and they know their leaders' pattern of life, where they go, what they think, and what they do. Thanks to their work, we know Iran, and it is an incredible work that they do. Again, none of our operations that we've conducted during my time in this job could have been done without the service of these intelligence professionals. And the distance from those core collectors and those analysts to those Patriot crews who are defending U.S. forces forward or the fighter pilots is incredibly small. Every single day, as their mottos say, they are committed to excellence in the defense of the nation and to securing the future, and they're doing the work of the nation. Before I close, as I do every time, I want to highlight and remember our fallen. Today, I want to highlight the 63 victims of the terrorist bombing of the U.S. Embassy in Beirut, which occurred 43 years ago, just a few days ago, on April 18th, 1983. At that time, this was the deadliest attack on a U.S. diplomatic mission, and this was the first attack conducted by Iranian-backed forces on Americans. The suicide bomber detonated a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device out in front of the embassy, killing 63 innocent people, including 32 Lebanese, 14 visitors, and 17 Americans. And among those lost, members of the Joint Force to include 3 Army soldiers and 1 United States Marine. We remember their names: Sergeant First Class Richard Twine, Staff Sergeant Ben Maxwell, Staff Sergeant Mark Salazar, and United States Marine Corporal Vincent McMaw. Today we remember them. We carry on their memory and the memory of all our fallen, and remain grateful for their sacrifice and that of their families, who continue to show us what courage looks like. As we continue to press forward and maintain these operations, the Secretary, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and I are deeply humbled by the spirit, tenacity, and commitment and grit of the 2.8 million members of our Joint Force. The Secretary and I thank every member of the Joint Force engaged in this operation, every warrior who remains deployed or who is supporting from here at home. Thank you to, and thank you to your families. Sir, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you.
Now, wait a minute, Jack. This is a friendly celebration.
I don't much like the way you celebrate.